Okay, what have we got next? Phantom, 2004. This is another one that only my parents saw, not my brother and I. Wicked. So this is an example of my parents and my brother and I seeing this at different times. This one is from when my parents saw it. October 2005. They saw it with Megan, Hildy, and Shoshana Bean. And they saw it, and it was amazing. They bought the cast album, and this was one of the first examples, actually. Wicked was one of the first examples of me listening to a cast album before I had ever seen the show and falling in love with it. I actually did not listen to it just because they said to, though, because they didn't, really promote it to us. They never really came home and said, oh, that was such a good show, you kids should really go see it. We were still pretty young, This was around the age. I was 13 years old, and I was starting to get really into anime music videos. You remember that time, right? I had only just really started to understand that anime, I was really only just sort of starting to get into the anime world. The whole thing with anime coming from Japan and everything, I didn't know that before. I thought they were just really good cartoons on Saturday mornings or on Toonami on weekdays, I knew I liked them better than some of the other cartoons we had because they had the stories that you had to watch every episode like an actual show instead of just being very episodic. I didn't realize that they were different, especially with all the Americanization we do of everything. There were a lot of times I was confused about stuff, like, that doesn't look like any jelly donut I've ever seen, but anyway, I fell in love with Detective Conan as an anime, and that was the one that introduced me to the concept of shows coming from Japan and manga being from Japan, and the fact that you could get episodes in Japanese with English subtitles. So that was Detective Conan was the first show I saw it for. But I was making an anime music video about Kaito Kid, who is a character he's like a showman, phantom thief. He has a hang glider, he flies around, and I was looking for a music to put that to, and I was just browsing through the CDs that we have on the shelf, taking them out, looking at the track lists on the back, and looking for one that sounded promising. And I pulled off Wicked, and I saw the words defying gravity, and I was like, that sounds pretty accurate for Kaito Kid. So I listened to it, and I was like, this is perfect. And I made the music video to Defying Gravity. And obviously, if you've ever made a music video, by the end of it, you've memorized the entire song. And I loved it. It was so good. And then I started listening to the rest of the album, and it was so good. Obviously. Wicked is phenomenal. It's one of the it's gonna live in forever. It was one of the game changers. I started listening to the cast album all the time. It was so great. I put it on the iPod, brand new iPod. That's the time period this was. Listened to it all the time. There was another girl at school who also listened to it. At one point, I remember we were kind of singing popular, gonna be popular, and there was another girl that we knew because we were all in English class together, that kind of thing, and she was like, I can't believe those words are coming out of your mouths right now. She didn't realize. We were like, no, it's a song. And she was like, not any song I want to be a part of. High school is you're very anti everything. Down with the popular kids. Wicked was another show that really, after Les Mis, it really kind of, changed my life, because I was so only about Les Mis for so long. Really, I was so only about Les Mis. I mean, we saw other shows. We saw The Music Man, which is one of those shows that we don't have the Playbill for, and so I haven't put it up here because we don't have it. I saw that. My parents took me to see that. That was great, In 8th grade, again, not 8th grade, freshman year of high school, again, in art class, we had some assignment where we had to make some sort of book for, not necessarily illustrated, but some sort of art book for our favorite song or something like that. And I did One Day More. And I basically just drew a comic, basically a picture book where I had the lyrics on one side and I had just illustrated what happens in that scene, the little triangle and everything. I mean, Wicked was another show that I could get so into. Seriously changed my life. Michael and I saw it a few years later after this, in 2007. Anyway, moving on. I don't mean to waste the entire video just staring sappily at old playbills. Moving on to the next wall. That huge blank space will be explained later. Let's see. Shift this over so you can see the new wall now. All right, next up. Now we have Grey Gardens. This is another example of something that my parents saw that I don't really know much about it. This up here. All right. Spring Awakening with Jonathan Groff and Leah Michelle. Only my parents saw this version for obvious reasons, right? Even though June 2007, even though at this point I was 16, that's still considered probably a bit too young, by my parents at least, to be seeing Spring Awakening. Not by everybody, obviously. I mean, I just remember just the other day seeing a picture of Corey Cott when he was 16 stage dooring for Spring Awakening. So, obviously not everybody was too young, but this was good. I remember though, my parents, I remember watching Glee years later, right? And Jonathan Groff came on Glee, and my dad, of course, the first thing he had to say was, "We saw his butt." I was like, "What?" Yeah, on Spring Awakening. And I was like, why did you think that was information I needed to know? I don't know. But all right. Oh man, curtains. I saw this too. This was so good. This, for some reason, we only have one copy of this playbill, so we're putting it in this display. I would love to have a copy for my own, personal collection for when I, move out and I want to put up a display, because I loved curtains. This was, I think probably in my family, I liked curtains the most out of all four of us. This show, it only ran for a year, I think, or something like that on Broadway, but it was amazing. The cast album for Curtains was the first musical album I ever bought with my own money. I went to Barnes & Noble specifically so I could find this. I was looking for it because I was like, I didn't know how to do research or something. I didn't know if it was out. I didn't know if any stores carried it, but I was like, it has to exist. There's one for Les Mis and there's one for Wicked, so obviously there has to be one for Curtains. I loved this so much. I was in high school when I saw this. And you know what's odd though is it says on here July 2007. I feel like I have memories of being in senior year of high school, but that's impossible because I was not old enough. And well, actually, maybe 2008. My math is wrong. I was class of 2008 in high school. Anyway, oh, you know what? I'm getting confused because I'm like, I was 16, but that's because I was young in school. Not like I was smart, but just that I just barely made the cutoff for new students when I was born, Anyway, I remember talking to one of the girls she was always one of the main stars in a lot of our high school productions, Lauren Sagnella. She was so good. She was always one of the leads, and she was sitting next to me in English class, and it came up that I had seen Curtains. Yeah, Lauren was like, "You saw Curtains? How was it? What was it like?" I was like, "Oh my god, it's so good. It's so funny. It's like they had all these theater jokes. They were killing people with flats. Oh my god." It was so great. I remember that fondly. Okay, next up we have another playbill with a ticket on it. When I was framing them, I was putting the tickets. When my mom framed them, I think she just hid the tickets if they were there. But anyway, Color Purple. This is another one that my parents saw. I think they saw it with, who was it? They saw it with some star. Of course, if you're watching this and you're probably yelling at me for forgetting who it was. I did not see this. I saw the non-musical movie in school. I wrote a paper on it, but I did not see the musical. All right. Oh, Avenue Q. I did go see this. I was old enough by then. My brother came too. Even though I remember telling my friends afterwards that I remember he had a question for me once. He was like, I didn't really get that one joke. It was like a one night stand joke. I was like, oh, it was this. We actually got to see this. This was crazy. My mom had a friend who had family coming to visit, and this friend doesn't really know much about Broadway or anything, but they were like, oh, we want to go see a show, because that's what people who live farther away do when they come to visit the tri-state area. They're like, this is a great opportunity to go see a Broadway show, right? And so the friend bought tickets to go see Avenue Q for her family and their little children, because she was like, oh, it's like a cute show with puppets, right? So, like, extremely fortunately, I guess, suppose for all parties involved, but especially for us, she told my mom about that, and my mom was like, you don't want to take children to see Avenue Q. And her friend was like, oh no, what do I do? And somehow they ended up getting new tickets to go see Mamma Mia, and they let us take the Avenue Q tickets off their hands. So that was amazing. And they were great seats too. I mean, oh my God. So we saw Avenue Q. This was another example of me mostly listening to the album before seeing the show. I think that was that way for everybody with Avenue Q, right? But I didn't actually, I thought I listened to the whole album, but it turned out I didn't. There were like 5 songs that I hadn't found, because I didn't buy the album. I just saw it everywhere because people kept using the songs in anime music videos, right? I remember hearing some of the songs and being like, ew, I was still little bit. But then I saw like a Digimon one to It Sucks to Be Me, and I was like, this is such a great song. What is this from? And I was like, wait, this is from the same thing as that show with the porn song? I remember, though, I made a joke about Avenue Q, because I figured everybody was so into Avenue Q songs at the time. Everyone knew it. I thought everyone knew it. But we were doing some sort of assignment in English class where we had to pretend to be characters from The Stranger. Like we were having a trial, a mock trial or something. So I was playing one of the irresponsible friends. I invented this whole attitude I went full on. I had ripped jeans. I was chewing gum. I was sitting back in my seat. Very unlike me. And I was like, nah. Everything's cool. You want her to play. Everything's cool. Right? At one point, because my fellow students, my teacher was so pissed at us. My fellow students were kind of making a mockery of it, right? They were just having laughs. They were like, are you aware that your friend is a racist? Because he just killed the guy. And I was like, I mean, everyone's a little bit racist. And some of the other kids kind of smirked, but the teacher was like so offended. She was like, I'm not. She had a terrible opinion of me after that. Like, it's an Avenue Q joke. But she didn't know that. And I did not break character to tell her. So she probably just hates me. Anyway. Alright. Young Frankenstein. My parents went to see this. I had a weird conversation with my father the other day about shows, because he is so, like, I don't know, only about the music or something. Or he doesn't like musicals or shows as much if he's already seen some version of the story. And I'm like, that doesn't check out to me. If you like Mary Poppins as a movie, why wouldn't you like Mary Poppins on Broadway? I could understand maybe not being as excited as seeing something new, but I don't see why you would not enjoy it as much. And I was like, what about shows where it wasn't a musical, and then you see the musical? And he was like, oh yeah, like Young Frankenstein. He was like, I saw the movie, but the movie was not a musical. So I liked seeing the songs, but I didn't really care about seeing the storyline or anything, because I already had seen it. So I didn't really like that. I was like, what's wrong with you? I don't know what's up with him. He's weird. This is why I have so much trouble. There's a lot of shows that maybe I want to see, but I have not seen. Like, other than Lion King, I have not seen any of the Disney to Broadway shows, except for Newsies. But that's different circumstances. Because they're like, well, wouldn't you rather just go see something you haven't seen at all before? I'm like, I get that sentiment, but also I want to see Aladdin. God. And Anastasia. Anyway, Young Frankenstein. Alright. This is another show we saw multiple times. Spamalot. This program, actually, I put in one of the more recent programs that's in color. Oh wait, no, it was... Because we also had a bunch of programs of this in black and white. We had some that were from the same production, but some were color and some were black and white. I don't know what's up with that. Or maybe it was that one of the earlier ones was color and then later were black and white. I don't remember. I remember thinking it made no sense when I was looking at the color to black and white dates. But this is another show that we actually saw multiple times. For some reason, we had playbills from April 2008, February 2008, and March 2008. I don't know what's up with that, but one of them might have been from me, because I actually saw Spamalot 3 times, but different dates than those. I saw Spamalot with a friend and her family, and that was the first time I saw Spamalot. I was so confused because I had not really seen Monty Python, so I was like, what? Like, this is one of those things, Monty Python too, it's one of those things where the first time you see it, I think you're just kind of like, this is so weird. But then later on, when you're recounting the story, you just start cracking up because it's so absurd. That's what happened to me with Spamalot anyway. I was like, I really liked the songs that were making fun of musicals. Like the song that goes like this. I was like, but there was this like 10-minute scene of this guard just making farting noises. See, now I think it's hilarious. But anyway, and I saw it with my family, and then also I saw it with some other friends who were like, hey, we're gonna go see Spamalot and you like Broadway, so you should join us. I was like, awesome, you know. So 2 of the times I saw it, the time I saw it with my family and the time I saw it, the third time I saw it, were when Clay Aiken was in the production playing Sir Robin. This thing in house, we loved Clay Aiken in this household. My mom was a huge fan. She was like on message boards. You know, one of his concerts was like the first concert I ever went to. Oh wait, no. Technically I went to a Hilary Duff concert once, but that was an odd situation. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know what I was doing there. I was there because this girl dragged me along and she was all excited. Everyone was all excited. All these people around me that were my age were very excited about music stuff all the time that I didn't really know anything about. Like I remember when Britney Spears was really big. It took me a while. I was like late to the party understanding that. And people were like, the music class, at the end, every kid like got a turn to have the teacher play a song at the end of the class. And when it was my turn, everyone was like, you have to play Britney Spears. And I was like, I don't know who Britney Spears is. What are you talking about? But I was just like, okay. They were like, bring Britney Spears, played this song. I was like, okay, if you say so. So that's how I got Britney Spears' album. I loved it, though, once later on, when I listened to it. It was her first one. But, I mean, I was always behind the curve. Anyway, Clay Aiken was the first concert that I went to that I, wanted to go to and was engaged in. No offense to Hilary Duff. Hilary Duff is great. I just did not know that at the time. We really liked Clay Aiken in my house, so of course we had to see him when he was in Spamalot. It was very good. They're sending above the doorway over there. Alright, what do we have next? Okay. Billy Elliot. This was one that only my parents saw. I don't think, let's see, 2009. Alright, this was not yet the case, but later on, one of those girls from my high school was in this, Heather Teppy. Very exciting. Okay. So, I just dropped like 3 frames on the ground. So so I'm gonna have to be putting these back together here. Sorry. Let me talk about this one first, I guess, to get it out of the way. Alright. So the next playbill I have is How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, starring Daniel Radcliffe. This program is from when my parents went to see him. I was in school. My brother was also in school. But I did actually see him as well, although I don't have a program from it. That's because my school, the college, had this special trip thing where they got major group discount organized by the Student Center where people could buy the tickets, and it was very affordable because it was a huge group. We took up like the very last 3 rows in the most upper mezzanine. Like, got to see Darren Criss. Daniel Radcliffe. So we got to see Daniel Radcliffe. He was so great. It was great. And then, this is where the funny part comes in. Not very long later, I came home and my parents, this was amazing to me. They usually don't do this, but they got me actually as a present, like for my birthday or something, maybe. Even though the time period was not near my birthday, but that's how it works. They got me tickets to see for my 2 tickets, and I ended up taking my brother because I'm a loser without close friends. Darren Criss, 2 Harry Potters, am I right? I have to reframe this because I dropped it on the ground. Just a second. These frames actually are very cheap frames. We bought these at AC Moore for like $2 each. They're very easy to use. You can just kind of pop this glass in. It's front loading, which is odd for a frame maybe, but it works pretty easily. I would show you, but if I hold it up, the playbill will fall out because of gravity. There you go. I'm gonna have to wipe my fingerprints off this later. Put these Harry Potters up.